By the way, Alice, you need to record this.
Thank you. So again, you are going to need for this class the truck piece of paper, a sheet of cranberry, a sheet of orange, and then 2 sheets of yellow to make this adorable page layout.
Unless
So
is the orange, is that in the pack?
I believe it was in the project recipe kit.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. And then if it was not, you may need to grab a sheet of orange. I believe there was orange in there.
I found orange there.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need your ovals. So on this particular one, again, I had, if you look at your oval patterns, I number them 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to need number 3. That's the second to largest oval, so you can put your others away. And then for circle patterns, and you're saying, where did she do a circle? I'll show you that in a second. With the circles, 1, 2, 3, you're going to need number 2, which is the middle sized circle. And you're going to need your red blade, and of course your trimmer and your adhesive. So let me just tuck these aside for now. You're going to start with your yellow piece of paper. And you're saying, wait, yellow is just the background. But what I did was I cut 2 circles out of the yellow for my next class. So what we're going to do is just take one of your sheets of yellow. You're going to put your circle, you're cutting with the center of this template, and you're going to put the template about a 1/2 inch from the edge because you want the circle to be cut out. And it's going to be underneath this banner. So we're going to do, if you notice, it's about a 1/2 inch from the edge on this side, and the other corner, it is 1/2 inch from this side. So this is what I call cutting with a purpose. A lot of people take, they know they need a circle, so they just do it right in the center. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're doing it about a 1/2 inch from each edge. You're going to use your red blade, and the red blade is the one that cuts closest to the edge. So remember, for those that haven't used this in a while, those 2 little legs on your blade go in the groove around the center. So you just put those legs in the groove and circle around. And you have, did I do this right? This looks very small. Yep, I did it wrong. Don't cut yet. Did you all cut? I'm sorry.
I thought you said the big one.
Yes, it is the big one. It is the big one. So you're going to do, and that's okay because on this particular page, we have 2 banners. So you can always go to your other sheet of paper. So it happens, we make mistakes. What you're going to do is you're going to cut with the center of the bigger one. And my apologies for anybody that mixed up. So just do, if you've already cut 2 on one sheet, pull out your other sheet of yellow and we'll cut it on the other sheet. So this would be here and here. So if I'm cutting on this one, I already cut one, so I'm only going to do 1 more. And then I'll go to my other sheet of yellow. I apologize for that. So you have your one piece of circle, and then use your other piece, because if I went further and did another one, it's going to show past that banner. So I want to make sure I stay within the banner area where I'm going to put that banner of truck paper across. So again, you're going to cut about a 1/2 inch from the edge of the paper on both sides of the corner with the red blade in the center of that largest circle. And you really do have room to do 2 of them next to each other. And remember, just keep it about a 1/2 inch So this is how it should look, is 2 circles out of that paper, and it's out of the way. Then when we build the page, we're actually going to cover over those circles like I did here. So now I have my 2 pieces of yellow are ready. And if this is what we're building, you see how that banner went over top. Oh, and here's my notes right in front of me that I missed. Okay, so we have those circles cut out. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take out that piece of orange paper, and I'm just going to move this aside. And we're going to get our cutting all done. Put that back. And you're going to take out your piece of orange, your orange cardstock. And the orange is going to, you're going to use the, I have my notes right here. You're going to cut 3 ovals with the number 3 template. This is number 3. It's the second to largest oval. So it's going to be on the outside with the red blade. So we're going to cut 3 of them. It doesn't matter on this particular one because we're not using that orange for another page unless we need it for scraps to add orange or for a mat. So you just want to cut 3 ovals. Again, it's the outside of that number 3 oval pattern, the second to largest oval pattern. So you want 3 of them. So I should be able to get 3 across here. And again, you're putting those little red legs of your blade, the red blade, into the grooves on your oval patterns.
Alice, do you still sell the blades individually?
I do.
Okay, I'm gonna have to have another red one.
Yeah, they after a while they do kind of lose their oomph. And I have to say, and I'm not sure if everybody has this, a lot of people haven't used your circles and ovals in a while. I try to pull them out and do like 1 circle or oval on every scrapbook page just so the picture kind of pops out. But I have to say, the new ones, actually the blade spins as you're going around. If you have the old ones that don't spin and you have to constantly move your hand, you know, to reset it on the blade as you're going around, this one, it spins. So you can just do 1 motion and go around and the blade just follows around because it spins.
Yeah,
Also,
I was gonna comment on that. What a difference that made when they did that.
yes, and the blade housing is a little bit wider, so it's a little easier to hold in your hand than the old ones were so tiny. I always felt like my hands were cramping up, but anyway, so you have your 3 ovals going, and then, so that's your orange. So now you're done with your orange. You can use the rest for matting pictures and whatnot later. The next thing we're going to do is, so I'm going to put all my little notes out here for you. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the red piece of paper. And now you're going to pull out your trimmer with the straight blade. This is the big trimmer, which I love. What you're going to do is you're going to cut a 3/4 inch by 10-inch sheet strip. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your paper in at 3 3/4 inch. So I put it in at 3 3/4 inch on that line. Make sure it's all the way on that line going down. I always look at these lines on the grid on the trimmer. It just really helps making sure that my paper's straight across to get that perfect line. So you're going to cut that all the way through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it 1 time so it's sideways, and I'm going to cut it at 10 inches. So I'm going to pull out the arm of my trimmer. I'm going to put it at the 10-inch mark, put the edge of the paper at that 10-inch mark, and then just cut. And you can save onto that little red paper. You never know when you're going to use it. So now you have that 3 3/4 cut piece of paper by 10 inches. And then you're going to do the same thing with the truck paper, but this time the trucks is going to be at 3 1/4 inch. So I put it, and watch which way you're cutting. You want to make sure your trucks aren't going up and down. You want to make sure you cut it so your trucks are going across the paper. So make sure when you cut your paper, and you have to watch when your paper is directional like that, you want to make sure your trucks are sideways when you're cutting at 3 1/4 inch. So I cut 3 1/4 inch so that my trucks are sideways, are going the correct way. Does that make sense? So, and you're going to cut 2 of these. Same thing with the red. You're going to want 2 of these that are 3 3/4 by 10 inches, and then 2 of the trucks that are 3 1/4 by, and this one we need 9 1/2 inches. So hopefully my little cheat sheet here is helping you. So this one we're going to put at 9 1/2 inches. And I actually use this little truck paper later for another page. So just so you, if you want to keep that. So I have my 2 pieces. And if you notice, when you take them out, they fit perfectly together with a nice little border behind for that match strip. So we're going to do those cuts again with the same paper. So I'm hoping this little cheat sheet helps you. So on the red, you want 3 3/4 inches. So I'm going to put it 3 3/4. And I want that by 10 inches, 10 inches wide. And then the truck paper, I want 3 1/4. By 9 1/2. 9 1/2. So basically what you're doing is 2 of each. That would be these cuts. Your 3 ovals and your two circles out of the yellow. Okay, and then is everybody ready to move on, or are you still cutting? So really at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to create those banners. I'm just going to put my trimmer away. You're going to create those banners. As you can see on my original page, what I did was I just cut almost like a triangle out of those strips of paper. So how I did it was I put one on top of the other, and I moved it all to one edge. So I'm looking at my trucks. If my page is going to go, let me just do this. So for the right-hand side of the page, I'm moving my trucks all the way to the right side of my strip. what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors. I'm cutting in about an inch into the center. Just, you can eyeball it right into the center. Cut about an inch in. Okay, so you see how I just cut that right in. And then what you're going to do is take them apart. You have it centered for both of the papers. What you're going to do now is you're going to take that cut. You're going to cut from the corner into the point, where we cut into. So I'm actually cutting out that triangle. And you can do it with your trimmer if that's easier for you. I just wanted you to see it up close. So what I'm doing is cutting that out. So I went from the corner into that cut in the center that I made. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other corner. You're going to go from the corner of your strip to the center where you cut into, and it's just going to pull that edge out. So you have that perfect little banner edge. And you're going to do the same thing with your truck paper. You cut into it a half an inch. And the reason I didn't line them up, if you cut from the corner in with them lined up, it doesn't hit the corner of the truck paper. You want to do it separately. So you just, again, you want to do from the corner of your truck paper into where the edge of that cut mark that you made, and then flip it over and do the corner of the other side into that center. So you have that really pretty banner, and then it's going to fall, when you put it together, it's going to fall perfectly with that cranberry color matte underneath. So that's perfect for the one side of the page. Now, when you do the other side of the page, when you do your left side of the page, now you want to move your trucks all the way to the left when you cut it out. So what you're going to do is move your trucks all the way so it lines up right with the edge of that cranberry paper. You're going to cut that 1.5 inch into the center. So I'm cutting it right in the center, just in about an inch, inch and a quarter, inch and a half, whatever you do is fine. And then what I'm going to do is separately cut them from the corner to the point of that cut in line. Went a little bit further. And then from the other corner into that cut line. So I make my banner edge. And then you're going to do the same thing. Oh, my little corners here. Then you're going to do the same thing with your truck paper. You're going to go from the corner. It's just by doing it this way, sometimes I always double things up and I cut them all at the same time. It just guarantees that your trucks are going the right direction. If you cut them all the same way, your one side of your truck paper is going to be upside down. So you just want to make sure when it's directional paper, meaning that the pattern on the paper has to go in a certain direction. You want to make sure that your trucks aren't upside down or sideways. It happens all the time. I did a beautiful layout for Easter with these little cute rabbits jumping. They were adorable. And then when I put it all together, I realized my rabbits looked dead because my rabbits were all laying on their sides. You have to kind of watch. And then when you lay it down on top of your mat, if for any reason, and you can see mine looks a little wonky over here, you can just adjust it with your scissors by just recutting the edge so it just looks like a little bit more matte. Oh, now I made a little too much. There we go. So you just want your truck paper to fall in the center of that banner perfectly. So there's a little 1/4 inch all the way around and it looks really cool. And those little corners, triangles you don't need, feel free to throw them out. For years, I always saved all that stuff thinking, oh, I might be able to punch something out of it, but really you don't toss them because your little piles of scraps is going to be immense. Okay, so everything is really cut out. Now, just to show you what I did, and I'm just going to move all this aside. So here's my page, and you're going to notice that on my pumpkin, I have black lines around the pumpkin. What I did was I just took a marker and went around the outside of that pumpkin. So you can flip your yellow sheet over and do it on the back of your yellow sheet. What I did was I just took the fat end of my marker. You can do it on a piece of scrap paper. Maybe that's better than having it all over the back of my page. I use inside your packs of paper always comes that cover sheet. I always use this as scrap paper. Sometimes I even cut it up and use it as picture placement mats, just so I know where I would want pictures. But feel free to use those as you need. But what I did was I took the fat side of my marker, and let me do it on this side. So I took the bold end and I just went around the outside of my circle. And what it's doing is it's almost like you're tracing it, but the edge of that marker is actually going onto the oval. So I'm just really tracing the oval onto another piece of paper for no particular reason other than to give a little black edge to my ovals. And now you can see my oval has a little black edge. So you want to do that on all 3 of them. What that does is it just gives a little more depth. If you tape these ovals and you're overlapping them, yeah, they look great, but people don't really see that overlap, and you kind of want it to be like the grooves of the pumpkin. When you buy a pumpkin and it has those indentations going around and it looks so perfect. Now when I overlap the ovals, you actually see the overlap. So that's why I did that with just trace. And all I do is trace the pumpkin or the ovals to give it a little black edge. So I know a lot of you are stampers and have done all those techniques with inking the edges of your paper. You could also ink the edge where you're just taking a little sponge of ink and rubbing it on the edge. I do this trick because it's just quicker. Rather than me digging out something else, I always have a black marker on my station. So I just trace something and it gives it that little black edge. And then when you put 2 pumpkins down next to each other and one in the center, it looks like a pumpkin. So that's how I do pumpkins. So what I did for this one, let me get rid of my paper. I am going to now lay out my page class. Let's move this aside. What I did was I took my yellow piece and put that down first. And you can see I have my yellow circles that were cut out. No problem. Don't worry about that because these trucks that I cut out are now going to cover over top of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape my red banner over top of those circles. So nobody's going to see that I have cutouts underneath. And again, I did them about a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the paper. So I want to make sure that this covers it, and a half an inch is perfect from the edge. So it's about a half an inch from the edge, and I just put it right up against the edge of the yellow. And you can come in a little bit if you like that yellow border. I wanted it to look like the banner went all the way across the 2 pages. And I'm going to do that exact same thing on the other side.
Where is it?
And again, this is going to fall right about a half an inch from the edge of the bottom and right up against the edge of the yellow page. So you have your banner. It's a really cool technique. You could just do a page. Look at how pretty that is. Just do that on a page with any papers that coordinate. It looks so pretty. But we're going to take it the extra mile, and we're going to take our trucks. And remember, you want your trucks to be going in the right direction. So your banner, so I put 1 set of trucks. Now, if you realize, oh no, I cut my trucks wrong and my trucks are going up and down, you know, if your trucks are sideways when you put it down like this, you can always turn your page to be like this and do that banner down the center of a page. That looks pretty too. You can definitely do that with some papers. But so now I have my 1 banner done. I put my truck on one side, and then it should fit right into the other side. Doesn't that look adorable? And then how I did the pumpkins, you have 3 ovals. Take 1 oval, and we're going to cut it right down the center. And I'm going to show you the best technique I've learned. It's the biggest trick with your trimmer. If you have the Creative Memories new trimmer, everybody loves this one. There's one more feature. When you open the arm of your big trimmer, this arm that's the metal blades that hold the blade housing, open that up. There's a well in here between, there's like a plastic edge that you would put your paper up. I call it the well. It's where the paper could go through. It's where your housing goes through. So that edge ends on one side and the other side. Take your oval, put it right into the edge of it, right into that well. It's going to put it in there perfectly so it's centered. It's also a great way to cut your circles. They fall right into that well, and when you cut, it's going to cut your circles perfectly in half. We'll get to that on our next page class. But I put that oval right into that well, and just because it's an oval, it's not going to, you can turn it a little bit. You don't want it turned. You want it up and down. So we're cutting the long way through. Put it right into that edge, and then just make sure the edge, the top edge of your oval is on your cutting line so that it's not crooked. So once you have it in there, you're going to cut. Don't worry if it's a little off-centered, nobody's going to notice. So you're putting that oval right into that well, and you're going to cut it right in half. So I cut, whoops, didn't go all the way through. So I'm cutting my 1 oval directly in half the long way. And then what I'm going to do is piece together my pumpkin. And what I did was I kind of tucked the pumpkin underneath that, that banner strip. So I just want to take my multi-purpose tool and kind of make sure there's some room in there to tuck that oval underneath. Make sure the tape's not stuck all the way down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape on the back of the oval on the side that doesn't have that black marker line. I'm going to tuck it a little bit under that banner on one side and make sure the edge of that oval is right on the edge of my yellow paper. So I tuck it in there. I'm going to do the same thing with the one on the right side of the paper. I'm going to tuck it under the banner just a little bit. And you can even pull out your ruler and make sure that the tops of your pumpkin are around the same sides. It doesn't really matter to me. A pumpkin is never symmetrical. So it's okay, but it's tucked under that banner just a little bit, and the edge of that oval is right on the edge of my yellow paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of those halves, put some tape on it. And if you notice, I only put a little tape. I don't tape every edge. It doesn't, because once it's under a page protector, it's not going anywhere. What I'm going to do again, just make sure the edge of my banner can lift up a little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this also, and I'm going to have the cut line of this oval right on the edge of the yellow paper. So I'm tucking it under just a little bit and putting this right on the edge of that yellow paper. Oops. And then the same thing with the other side. I'm going to put a little tape on the back. I'm going to tuck it under the edge of that banner strip. And the multi-purpose tool really just kind of lifts the edge of something that you might have already taped down. We'll push it back down. If you put your pages together, you can kind of glance at the top of the pumpkin and make sure it's about the same height, but it's going a little bit under that banner. And there's your pumpkin. Doesn't that look adorable? And then what I did was I just took I had a scrap of brown sitting around. I just kind of freehanded cut. I just freehanded cut a little pumpkin edge. You can take your ovals and cut the edge of an oval. It's supposed to be rough and weird shaped. You can just take a little square of brown. I tried to round it a little bit because most pumpkin stems have that rounded edge. So like I said, I just freehand cut. I kind of cut the little corners off the bottom so it has almost like a point to it, but it doesn't have to be a point. And I stuck it in the top of my pumpkin. So when you put it in the top of your pumpkin any way you want, and it could be with green paper, it could be with the gray paper, whatever paper you have lying around, you can always do that later. I would tape it on and then cut it down the center, or just if I want it to be a little crooked, I know it's going to be over 2 pieces of paper. What I'm going to do is just kind of hold it in place and then cut along the edge of the paper, so I have an idea what's going to be on one side of the paper and what's going to be on the other. There's no really rhyme or reason, or everybody's stem is going to look a little different. So I put one side in, and I didn't tell you to get out brown paper, so I apologize, but it's just really to give it a little bit of a pumpkin stem to it. And then it's up to you where you want to put things. I grabbed, if you see on my original one, I grabbed some of the gray. There's a gray sheet of cardstock if you got the full collection. I use some of the gray just to use it. You can pull out green, anything, and just take some leaves and put some leaves on your pumpkin, or just leave it plain. I think it's adorable plain. So if you want to put leaves on it, I did add from that full collection were some mats. I always, I cut one apart. I put a little truck punch on there if you have the truck punch as well. Some of the embellishments that came in that full set, I added some mats I cut apart. The mat actually had they also had some, this is from the sticker pack. What I did was I added a little, I don't know if you can see it on here, is I put a 3D foam squares underneath my sticker so it kind of pops out. And that little red square, guess where that's from? You just cut that earlier off your banners. That was, we cut that off the edge of the banner. I just tucked it under one of the mats just to kind of give it something else. So I put one in each corner with a little piece of the mat over top of it. So it's really up to you what you want to do. A lot of people like to wait and see where their pictures are going to fall on the page. I just wanted to show you an idea of where I put things. I put a mat over the banner and I put I was able to get 3 pictures on each side doing that. But honestly, you could get a lot of pictures on this page. It's really cute just as it is. Or you can dress it up and add some more banners. And like I said, I will, I had said earlier to Janet that I will post pictures of the page. When I put it on YouTube, I'll have the page cover, this page on the cover of the YouTube channel so that you can rewatch this and just get an idea of where I placed everything. So what do you think? I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes. They are.